My fiancée fell in love with a student from a poor background who worked part-time at my company. She was dead set on breaking off our engagement to be with him, ready to face a life of hardship. My family believes in lifelong commitment to one person. With my fiancée breaking off the engagement, I became the family laughingstock. My mother, Eleanor Eastwood, held their files, and scumbag man and the scumbag woman certainly suit each other. My father, Richard Eastwood, ever the calm strategist, asked, "Have you figured out how to make them regret this?" I sneered. Of course. When Victoria Sterling threw a stack of photos showing a man and woman kissing in front of me, declaring to all the dignitaries of the city that she wanted to break off our engagement, I was somewhat stunned. The photos were crudely tossed onto the table, stained with a bit of grease, but the clumsy signs of photoshopping were still clearly visible. Victoria pointed at these baseless accusations, aggressively demanding, "But someone hadn't sent these photos to me before the engagement. I might have been kept in the dark by you forever. What lifelong commitment to one person? It's all bullshit. Mr. Eastwood, if you can't even manage basic loyalty, then I see no point in us getting engaged. Let's part amicably." Victoria's eyes were slightly red. A mixture of sorrow and anger etched on her face. I had never seen her like this. I quickly picked up the photos, pointing out the obvious editing marks. And man in the photo is me, but I don't know this woman at all. I tried to take Victoria's hand to calm her, but she violently shrugged me off. "These photos aren't real. Listen to me." I pointed at the almost distorted faces in the pictures, trying to explain. But Victoria, furious as if she had personally witnessed the betrayal, insisted I was unfaithful. Even when elders intervened, Victoria refused to give me any chance to explain. Her face flushed, she stared at me, resolute on canceling the engagement. When mud is thrown, people tend to believe the louder voice, regardless of how you try to prove your innocence. They've already made up their minds. Seeing Victoria about to storm off, I cast aside decorum, grabbed her wrist, and hastily pulled out my phone. I scrolled to my schedule for the date shown on the photos, proving I had never been to the bar depicted. But she didn't even glance at it. Tears welling up in her eyes, filled with grievance, she left decisively. Victoria, dressed in a pure white gown, looked noble and elegant, yet her departing figure seemed so thin and helpless. The stark contrast, seeing the once high and mighty young mistress tormented by love to this extent, spurred the present media to raise their cameras. The Eastwood and Sterling families had known each other for generations. Victoria and I, close in age, had grown up together and were betrothed since childhood, considered the golden couple of the city's high society. Today's engagement party was meant to formally announce our union, with numerous media outlets invited. The intention was to announce the joyous union of our two companies, but instead, we provided the media with far more explosive content. Everyone at the banquet hall was stunned. Due to the Eastwood family standing, no one dared say much, but I could still hear whispers from below the stage, some watching the drama unfold, some mocking, others sighing in pity. But more than any of this, Victoria's lack of trust wounded me deeply. We grew up together. She should have known my loyalty to her was absolute. Yet today, a few laughably fake photos negated my entire character. The lights of the banquet hall were blindingly bright. Perhaps due to panic or worry, a dull ache throbbed in my chest. But I couldn't dwell on it. I worried Victoria might do something rash, worried she would shut me out completely. Shoving the engagement ring I hadn't yet given her into my pocket, I ignored the stares and chased after her, composure forgotten. The person in the photos wasn't me. My heart had belonged wholly to Victoria since childhood. How could I betray her like this? I had to explain. However, Victoria left too quickly. By the time I reached the entrance, she had already hailed a waiting taxi and sped away. I stood frozen. The cold March wind lifted the corner of my suit jacket, seeping into my chest, bringing a wave of desperate chill. Inside the venue, Arthur Sterling, Victoria's father, was publicly embarrassing my parents for his precious daughter's sake. My father, Richard Eastwood, usually calm and strategic, gave me a look of disappointment, repeatedly assuring Arthur Sterling that he would compensate the Sterling family and Victoria. My mother, Eleanor, usually loving and kind, couldn't bear it anymore and fainted, collapsing to the ground. Disappointed parents, a chaotic scene, the sound of whispers. It felt like a blade hanging over me, slowly carving me up. The incident continued to ferment online. Accusations flooded in, and public opinion firmly branded me a playboy. John Corporation stock plummeted as a result. My father suspended me from my position. My mother, viewing me as a disgrace, avoided seeing me. I had no way to defend myself, but deeper than the chill of being distrusted was a sense of urgency. I was anxious about what Victoria was thinking now. Was she still heartbroken? Did she still love me? Might she do something drastic? No, I had to clear this up. Victoria had blocked me on all communication platforms. I heard she hadn't been to her company lately either. Seeing her seemed almost impossible. The Sterling and Eastwood families lived in the same gated community, each mansion guarded by dedicated security. Previously, entering the Sterling residence was effortless. The guards practically escorted me to the door. Today, they adamantly blocked my way. Chairman Sterling gave orders. Without his permission, no one enters the Sterling residence for the time being. My chest tightened. Clearly, this message was meant for me, but I couldn't wait. The villa area was quiet and vast, its surrounding greenery protecting homeowners' privacy well. However, the aesthetically pleasing low walls also offered an opportunity for trespassers like me. Beatrice Sterling had always been strict with Victoria. No A grades meant no dinner, skipping class meant kneeling on the floor, disrespectful words meant writing apologies. The most severe instance was when Victoria, trying to escape family control, secretly applied to B University miles away from home. When Arthur Sterling received the acceptance letter, he was furious and locked Victoria up, forbidding any visitors. I was incredibly worried back then, pacing outside the Sterling yard day after day. Eventually, I found a gap in the wall, climbed over, scaled up to the second floor, and found Victoria. Back then, she spent her days curled up in a corner of her room, torn between freedom and family, her spirits hitting rock bottom, often speaking despairingly. So during that time, I came almost every night. Even if we didn't talk, just being there was comforting. I wondered, would the recently heartbroken Victoria be as fragile as she was back then? With that thought, worry almost spilled out of me, and my steps quickened involuntarily. I vaulted smoothly into the Sterling's backyard, used the vines to climb onto the balcony of Victoria's room. She was inside in the spacious princess-like room. Victoria, wearing simple white loungewear, was curled up vulnerably on the sofa, eyes slightly red, arms wrapped around her knees, lost in thought. I hadn't seen her like this in a long time. A pang shot through my heart. Just as I was about to knock, Arthur Sterling stormed in angrily. I quickly sidestepped, hiding behind the wall. Arthur Sterling's expression was far from pleasant. I felt a flicker of suspicion. The outside world claimed he was tearing ties with Jiang Corporation for his beloved daughter's sake, supporting her to the extreme. Even if there wasn't overt affection between father and daughter, it shouldn't be this confrontational. Alarmed, I was about to speak up in her defense when I heard Arthur Sterling's merciless rebuke. "My mother and I poured so much effort into you, arranged this marriage with the Eastwoods through great pains, and you ruined years of our careful planning for some poor kid." I froze. The tension in the room escalated. War seemed imminent. Victoria stood up defiantly, her tone laced with obvious sarcasm. What are you unhappy about? Didn't you just want that piece of land from Jiang Corporation? Chairman Eastwood genuinely thought it was his son's fault, and you ended up getting a huge profit handed to you. Your rival of many years is now ruined in reputation. Weren't you busy celebrating yesterday? Exposed, Arthur Sterling flew into a rage, pointing at Victoria's nose and shouting, "Who taught you to speak to your elders like that? If you think you're so independent, hand over all your cards and get out with that poor kid to fend for yourselves." It took me a moment to grasp the meaning behind their words. I remained rooted to the spot. But something deep inside me began to melt, almost imperceptibly. Victoria's temper flared too. "You nearly bankrupted Jiang Corp using me, and now you want to kick me out? You're as selfish and hypocritical as ever." Nobody expected Arthur Sterling to actually raise his hand and slap her. In that split second, a young man rushed in, pulling Victoria behind him protectively. "Silas Shaw? Wasn't this the student from a poor background I personally recruited from a university for Jiang Corporation a couple of years ago?" Before I could react, Silas spoke, his tone firm yet pleading. "Well, Mr. Sterling, if you need to hit or curse someone, direct it at me. Victoria is pregnant right now. She can't handle this kind of stress." I don't remember how I left the Sterling residence utterly devastated. My heart felt like it was being crushed by an invisible hand. Each beat brought sharp, stabbing pain, as if countless tiny needles were pricking my chest, making it hard to breathe. I tried to ignore the strange sensation, but reason struggled against the overwhelming emotions of that moment. Pain washed over me in waves, drowning my logic. It took a while for rationality to resurface. I dialed my assistant's number. "Investigate Victoria Sterling's movements over the past year thoroughly." The autumn wind carried a desolate chill, seeping into my chest, running down my spine, making me shiver. Yet even this couldn't compare to the icy coldness deep within my heart. The sheer volume of information was suffocating. My head swam, but I forced myself to take several deep breaths, slowly piecing together the conversation between the Sterlings. The Sterling Corporation had been declining for years. An alliance through marriage with Jiang Corporation was a powerful safety net for them. No wonder the Sterlings had been pushing so hard for the engagement these past 2 years. Victoria herself hadn't been opposed to me, but then Silas Shaw appeared unexpectedly, and they fell for each other instantly. Victoria asked her father to cancel the engagement but was refused. The Sterling family couldn't afford to offend Jiang Corporation over a penniless young man, especially given their recent downturn. So, Victoria orchestrated the scene at the engagement party. Using fake photos and tearful accusations, she shifted all blame for ending our relationship onto me, making everyone believe I was unfaithful and had wronged a good woman like her. My father, valuing relationships, ensured that the benefits originally promised to the Sterlings remained intact, even throwing in a piece of land worth hundreds of millions. And Victoria, clearly the one at fault, positioned herself as the victim, preserving her reputation. Thinking this through, remembering my father, who had almost aged overnight trying to salvage Jiang Corporation's reputation, and my mother, who had wept incessantly, a chill ran down my spine. The Sterlings. You can truly know a person's face, but not their heart. Staring at the closed gates of the Sterling residence, I gripped the steering wheel tightly. More than a decade of sincerity couldn't even earn me honesty. The entire Eastwood family was paying the price for Victoria's selfishness and evasion of responsibility. Only when all the irrefutable evidence was laid before my parents did my sense of guilt lessen significantly. 3 days before the engagement party, Victoria personally went to the Sterling Corporation's office building ground floor to print those photos. There was no anonymous sender. After the engagement party was canceled, Victoria brought Silas Shaw to the Sterling residence, argued with her father at the entrance, and the three parted unhappily. In a photo, Victoria and Silas were kissing under a landmark in Sea City, the scene intimate and picturesque. The date stamp at the bottom indicated it was taken a year ago. My father looked up, puzzled. I calmly produced the second set of documents, a pregnancy test report from a renowned private hospital dated a week ago. On the black and white image, a small, indistinct circle was visible, but the unusually high progesterone levels listed below confirmed everything. At the bottom of the report, the words, 3 weeks pregnant, were clearly written. Even my father, accustomed to major upheavals, was shocked by the Sterling family's shamelessness. It took him a while to process it all, and they saw they couldn't hide it anymore, so they dumped all the blame on us. The Sterlings really play a good game. My mother clutched the documents, looking at the unformed fetus on the report, then glanced silently towards my head, feeling as if a green aura hovered around her son. Recalling the gossip and rumors she'd endured recently, she couldn't help but snort coldly, and scumbag man and scumbag woman. Truly a perfect match. Lonnie, and you decided how to retaliate against them? Of course. 2 days later, the Eastwood-Sterling engagement breakup scandal took a complete turn. Sterling heiress risks all for love. Victoria Sterling pregnant, devoted sincere Eastwood cruelly deceived. Brent Sterling Corporation apologizes. Victoria Sterling kicked out of family home. Scrolling through the trending topics that nearly crashed social media platforms on my tablet, the only feeling I had was irony. One had to admit, public opinion truly had the power to overturn everything, destroying a person's social image in an instant, only to pull them back onto a pedestal with a few words. This time, it was the Sterling Corporation caught in the crosshairs. Perhaps 10 years ago, Sterling Corp. could rival Jung Corp. But internal strife plagued the family in recent years. Countless relatives meddled in the family business, leading to chaotic management and stagnant growth. The company's stock couldn't withstand such a massive public opinion shock. Arthur Sterling was forced to publicly apologize to the Eastwood family and the public. On camera, the portly middle-aged man's eyes were filled with exhaustion. His rimless glasses cleverly concealed his shrewd, mercantile nature, making him appear much more sincere. Of course, only appear. Under constant pressure from the board to save his precarious chairmanship, he had to feign ignorance of his daughter's actions and publicly announce the severing of father-daughter ties with the morally corrupt Victoria. Victoria vanished completely from the public eye. However, some netizens, through doxing, discovered that after the scandal broke, Victoria posted a picture on an alternate account holding hands with a man. Captioned, "Even if thousands oppose me, I will go forward." Our childhood friend is quite the romantic, isn't she? Framing her fiancé for a poor kid wasn't enough. She had to defy the whole world. Wayne Wallace grinned at me. Although Victoria never showed her face, secrets rarely stay hidden. Word was that Arthur Sterling, deeply embarrassed by Victoria's premarital pregnancy, had completely kicked her out. And Victoria, determined to fight her family, clinging to the naive belief that love is enough, resolutely left with Silas Shaw. When Wayne Wallace told me this, he didn't forget to mock the glowing green hat metaphorically perched on my head. This childhood friend had always been sly. Annoyed, I grabbed an apple and threw it at him. "Still thanks to you," Wayne dodged hastily, pleading for mercy. Wallace Media was just testing the waters with a news company, and then Mr. Eastwood Jr. here hands us such a massive scoop. Almost got us publicly listed. Ponpat. "Is this really over now that you've cleared your name?" Wayne dropped the joking tone, asking seriously. I gave a cold laugh. Jiang Corporation lost billions in market value overnight. The Sterling Corporation, playing dumb, almost made a fortune short selling our stock. Then there were the investors who couldn't bear the loss and jumped from rooftops. My mother, who spent half a month in the hospital from the shame and mockery, and my father, who had never bowed his head to anyone in his life but spent those days apologizing everywhere. How could it possibly be over just like that? I logically resumed my position at the company. The recent turmoil caused by public opinion wasn't entirely detrimental. It helped my father and me see many people's true colors. Once the stock market stabilized completely, I initiated the largest round of layoffs in the company's recent history, aiming to remove dissenters and inject fresh blood into management. Some left, others joined, some were demoted, others promoted. The marketing department had hired many newcomers in the past 2 years, including Silas Shaw, Silas was professionally competent, almost standing out among the new generation of employees. I made exceptions and promoted a group of newcomers, except for Silas. His hopes dashed. Silas could only ask HR directly, but HR coldly informed him it was upper management's decision, knowing nothing more. According to regulations, an employee at Silas's level couldn't meet with me. Thus, despite his multiple requests for an explanation, I rejected them all. As for the real reason behind this, I believe he knew perfectly well. Having offended the young master of the Eastwood family and not being accepted by the Sterlings, Silas couldn't find another job even if he wanted to jump ship. He had no choice but to tough it out at Jiang Corporation. However, Silas seemingly couldn't swallow this indignity and actually brought Victoria to confront me. This was the first time Victoria and I had truly sat down face to face since the engagement party debacle. As her pregnancy wasn't far along, Victoria was still slim. She wore high heels to project confidence, but heavy makeup couldn't hide the exhaustion on her face. "I have an important meeting this afternoon. If you're here about Silas Shaw's failed promotion, I advise you not to waste your breath. Go back early." Facing Victoria, I no longer had the tenderness or patience I once did. She clearly hadn't expected me to be so aggressive right from the start. She paused before saying, "Mr. Eastwood, if you're angry because I engineered the breakup, then I sincerely apologize here. But Silas is innocent." Victoria was used to being the young mistress, likely accustomed to my subservient attitude towards her. Even saying some sorry, her tone remained haughty, as if implying I should know better and accept her apology quickly. I scoffed. What is the real purpose of Miss Sterling seeking me out?" "Then promote Silas." I placed both hands on the desk, leaning forward slightly aggressively, looking directly into Victoria's eyes. "I wonder, are you ordering me as Sincere Eastwood's ex-fiancée, or as the heiress kicked out by the Sterling family?" Victoria clearly hadn't expected me to be so blunt. Her face instantly flushed red, about to explode in anger. I smiled roguishly, delivering a blatant threat. "Once you should know, Silas Shaw offended our Eastwood family. Right now, besides Jiang Corporation, nobody dares hire him. If Miss Sterling displeases me, blocking a promotion is a minor matter." The conversation ended unpleasantly. Watching Victoria's retreating figure, I recalled the families of investors who committed suicide due to the stock market crash. Remembering them holding urns and 3-year-old children protesting downstairs at Jiang Corporation, a wave of nausea washed over me. "Victoria, oh Victoria, since you willingly made an enemy of the world for true love, then fight it to the end. Knowing this young mistress, cut off by the Sterling family without my support, unemployment would inevitably be difficult. Silas Shaw, who supported himself through part-time jobs during university, definitely couldn't sustain Victoria's high spending habits on his meager salary. It's easy to go from frugal to lavish, but hard the other way around. This simple truth is perfectly illustrated by the rich girl and the poor boy. I had brief interactions with Silas Shaw during new employee recruitment. Silas had excellent grades, was meticulous and careful in his work, and fiercely ambitious. He had an incredibly clear career plan, a real go-getter determined to escape his current social stratum. His only flaw was always looking for shortcuts and opportunities for quick advancement. He thought latching onto the Sterling family would save him 20 years of struggle. If both sides had been more sincere, perhaps I could have magnanimously let Victoria go. Unfortunately, they chose this underhanded method. Given Silas's ambition, he certainly wouldn't be content as a low-level employee in the marketing department, nor would he allow Victoria to become completely useless to him. The current calm was merely the illusion of moonlight on water. But I didn't expect this day to come even sooner than I imagined. After Silas's fifth failed attempt to schedule a meeting with the CEO's office, he directly intercepted me in the underground parking garage. He wore a simple shirt, his figure lean and tall, his pale complexion making him look particularly refined. Having navigated the professional world for so long, the image of the plainly dressed, stuttering student from 3 years ago was long gone. One had to admit his appearance certainly gave him an advantage in being a kept man. I calmly held the car door open. An employee bypassing hierarchy to approach the boss privately. You should know this is a major taboo. What if this employee can bring immense value to the boss? Silas even projected a faint air of relaxation. Clearly, he wasn't here to discuss a promotion. I raised an eyebrow in surprise, indicating I was listening. Silas was smart, and smart people don't beat around the bush. He smiled faintly and took a file from his briefcase, handing it to me. Silas's eyes shone with unmistakable confidence and composure. I opened the file in front of him and quickly scanned it. I expected some innovative project or personal proposal. Instead, Silas delivered a compilation of nearly all of Sterling Corporation's illicit activities over the past decade: bribery of high officials, securing illegal loans by bribing bank executives, hiring violent organizations for retaliation. Bold headings listed offenses, any one of which was enough to send the entire Sterling family to prison for years. Silas looked at me triumphantly. Eastwood and Sterling families have been rivals for over a decade. After the recent engagement fiasco, the Sterlings kicked John Corp while it was down, nearly bankrupting it through short selling. I imagine Mr. Eastwood isn't willing to just swallow that, right? What I'm offering is enough to ensure Sterling Corp never recovers. I took a deep breath, truly struggling to comprehend what kind of lunatic I had hired. "Oh, you got this from Victoria?" "Yes," Silas affirmed my guess without hesitation. "You're about to be a father, yet you plan to use me to send the mother of your child to prison? Shoot, you have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, Mr. Eastwood. You understand that. And you considered the consequences for the Sterling family and Victoria if you give me these documents?" Silas glanced at me, annoyed, clearly wondering why my questions were so sentimental. Circling around family and Victoria. In his negotiation scenario, I should have been offering him a higher position by now. Silas answered impatiently. "I gave Victoria and the Sterlings a chance. Unfortunately, the father and daughter are just that stupid. They messed up a perfectly good situation so badly that they're about to lose the entire company. As for Victoria," Silas paused. "Something that has lost its value can only be treated as a disposable pawn." "Good." I smiled with satisfaction, finally getting the answer I wanted. The next second, I casually opened the back passenger door. Victoria Sterling's figure was starkly revealed. The situation unfolded far more absurdly than I had envisioned. Watching Victoria, eyes red with fury, slap Silas across the face, I silently took 2 steps back, giving them ample space. Victoria's long-cultivated heiress temper was real. She swung her handbag at Silas repeatedly. Silas, knowing he was wrong, didn't fight back but dodged clumsily. It was quitting time, and onlookers were gathering. Hearing the murmurs and pointed fingers, Silas, humiliated, pushed Victoria angrily. "Are you crazy? Watch out." Seeing Victoria stumble backward, almost falling, I instinctively reached out to steady her. Not out of any real sympathy for this pair of scumbags, but this was Jiang Corporation territory. Their scene was becoming ugly, and I didn't want the company dragged into the spotlight again over their mess. The moment Victoria fell into my arms, Silas's sensitive, fragile nerve, a mix of inferiority and arrogance, snapped completely. "Sincere Eastwood, I dedicated myself to Jiang Corporation, and you pursued a personal vendetta. Fine. Now I offer sincere cooperation, and you betray me. Honestly, I was wrongly accused in this matter too. Half a month earlier, just before Victoria planned to frame me and break off the engagement, our company firewall suffered repeated attacks, and there were records of unauthorized access to the decision-making system outside of work hours to view confidential files. My father and I took this very seriously, specifically meeting with the senior executive whose account was compromised. The executive knew nothing about his account being hacked. An investigation revealed the problem originated with Silas Shaw. This was the fundamental reason I hadn't promoted him. Keeping him around was to investigate if a larger force was behind him. Jiang Corporation welcomes talented and ambitious young people, but those who always try to take unethical shortcuts are another matter entirely. According to Silas's original plan, he would have smoothly entered Sterling Corp. In a high position as the prince consort, thanks to the insistence of the love-struck heiress. The confidential files stolen from Jiang Corp. Were meant to be his offering to Arthur Sterling. Unfortunately for him, Jiang Corporation always prioritized information security, and Silas failed. What he didn't expect was that Victoria truly was an incompetent fool. Even her pregnancy couldn't sway her father. Seeing his plan fall apart, burdened with a high-maintenance dependent who only spent money, Silas decided to go all in, embarking on the path of selling out his partner for personal gain. While Victoria slept, he used her credentials to access the Sterling Corporation's intranet, digging through all their business dealings over the years, even unearthing evidence of their illegal activities. To be able to assess the situation and find the most advantageous path for himself in such a short time, I had to admire Silas's capability and intelligence. In an era with less stringent laws, where the winner takes all, someone like him would undoubtedly be a major figure. The boomerang had hit him right between the eyes, which was equally unexpected for me. Victoria's presence here was also simple to explain. Likely realizing the Sterling family was facing an insurmountable crisis, although kicked out by her father, they were still blood relatives. Given time, perhaps the matter would have blown over. Victoria had come specifically to plead for Sterling Corp., hoping to leverage my past affection to save her father from the crisis. But she never imagined that while she was fighting for her family, the man sleeping beside her was personally pushing her into hell. And this man was the father of her child. Perhaps because of my unnecessary steadying hand, Victoria felt a flicker of reliance. Just like when she used to get into trouble during her student days, and I would resignedly clean up her messes. So when confronting Silas, her voice grew louder, spewing the nastiest insults she could think of. Gold digger, selfish beast, came pouring out. Perhaps those closest know best how to inflict pain. Someone like Silas couldn't stand belittlement and mockery. Even though Victoria was overwhelmed with grief and anger, tears falling like broken strands of pearls, Silas only cared about his own face. They brought all of this upon themselves. I watched coldly as they hurled vicious words at each other, unable to help but recall their declarations of unshakable love and defiance against the world just half a month ago. A sense of disillusionment washed over me. This relationship, fraught with calculation from the start, demanded payment from countless families behind both companies. There should be limits even to selfishness. The chaotic scene finally ended with the sounds of police sirens and an ambulance. Silas Shaw was arrested on charges of illegal acquisition of confidential documents for profit. Victoria, overcome with grief, fainted and was taken to the hospital. I heard that after waking up, she was just as decisive as when she had thrown false accusations at me during the engagement party she terminated Silas's. "Child," she repeatedly demanded to see me. The woman in the hospital bed was deathly pale, a stark contrast to the radiant heiress of the past. Out of basic decency, I poured a glass of water and placed it by her hand. This gesture perhaps gave Victoria some false hope. Her eyes red, she grasped my hand. Her damp eyelashes clumped together like rain-soaked butterflies, her pupils radiating brokenness. Victoria's voice was pleading, "Sincere, you'll help me, right?" I roughly guessed what she was about to say and coldly tried to pull my hand back. But Victoria, panicked, gripped tighter. Her voice grew louder, trembling more intensely, her words tumbling out faster as if afraid I would leave any second. I already got rid of Silas's baby. Father was taken away by the police. Sterling Corp. is completely finished. Sincere. You're all I have left in the world. Can we start over just like before? She shook my hand excitedly, asking again and again, desperately begging for an answer. "Okay, please?" I leaned down, looking directly into her eyes, my expression blank, without a trace of emotion or hesitation. "Victoria, there's no turning back in this world." After saying this, I decisively pulled my hand away and turned to leave. No matter how she cried or screamed, I didn't look back. The elevator descended smoothly. I looked at my reflection in the polished surface, detached, almost clinical. Taking a deep breath, I consciously shifted my expression to one of warmth and reliability. Ding, the elevator stopped at the 4th floor, psychiatry. A small boy who had clearly been waiting rushed into my arms. "Uncle Jung, you finally came." The little boy's voice held the joy of fulfilled anticipation mixed with an almost imperceptible trace of grievance. I smiled, patting his head reassuringly. The nurse who had been with the boy came over. I dropped the gentle demeanor reserved for the child and spoke professionally. "How is Mrs. Mu doing now?" Translator's note. The original text introduces a Mrs. Mu here without prior mention. For clarity, I'll refer to her as Nuo Nuo's mother. The nurse shook her head. "Same as always. We just gave her a sedative. She's resting now." The child in my arms trembled visibly. I quickly comforted him. "Uncle Jang's house feels a bit empty lately. Nuo Nuo, if you're willing, would you like to come stay with Uncle for a while?" The boy nodded instinctively, then hesitated, remembering something. "But Mama is here. Whenever you have time, Uncle will bring you to see Mama, okay?" I coaxed gently. Only then did the little boy relax. This child, Nuo Nuo, was the son of a former Jiang Corporation contractor. To provide a better life for his wife and child, the man took out millions in loans to undertake a Jiang Corp project. He had hoped the project payment would improve their lives, but the turmoil between the Eastwood and Sterling families led to the project being halted. Unable to bear the pressure of debt, the man jumped to his death. His wife suffered a mental breakdown as a result. Families shattered like Nuo Nuo's due to this turmoil were not few. The chaos stirred up by Victoria had a massive impact on both companies, especially on the investors who had long trusted Jiang Corporation, many losing their entire life savings. Families like Nuo Nuo's, broken apart by the fallout, were numerous. Running a business is never just about surface glamour. It carries the responsibility for thousands of families. Next, we bring you the latest local news. The chairman of our city's well-known, long-established enterprise, Sterling Corporation, was arrested this morning on suspicion of bribery, illegal hiring, and other charges. His daughter, Victoria Sterling, has also been indicted by prosecutors for slander. On the hospital's public television screen, Arthur Sterling, handcuffed, was being swarmed by reporters. And that young man who had struggled so hard to get from a remote mountain area to the city was already incarcerated, effectively erased from public record. What awaited Victoria was also life behind bars. The child in my arms shifted restlessly. I sighed softly. Selfish and foolish people must always pay the price for their actions. The Daisy series paintings were the pledge of my love for my wife, Victoria Sterling. She had always treated them as treasures, insisting even I wash my hands and burn incense before touching them. When I discovered she had given one of them to her male assistant, I knew, no matter how passionate our love once was, it had now rotted and soured. This relationship had to end. Just as I was about to pull back, Victoria, eyes red, begged me to save Sterling Corp. With my money. I pushed her hand away. I wiped away her tears, my voice calm. Why would I save a company that I brought down? Chapter 1. Victoria's calls came one after another. Only when the screen was full of missed call notifications did I reluctantly answer. "Sincere Clark, are you crazy? Why suddenly auction the Daisy series? Don't you know what they mean to me? And you actually dared to have someone threaten Evan? I've told you many times, Evan Shaw is just my assistant. Are you jealous even of him?" In all our years of marriage, this was the first time Victoria had yelled at me. And here I was, naively thinking she might offer some satisfactory explanation after I finally responded. Instead, it was just useless nonsense. I delivered my ultimatum directly. If you say they mean so much to you, why did you give one to Evan Shaw? Did I allow it? You have 10 minutes. If Evan Shaw maintains his attitude and refuses to return it, don't blame me for suing him until he rots in jail. Before Victoria could react, I hung up and immediately called the gallery. Are you sure about this? Auctioning the entire Daisy series? The gallery manager, Mr. Harrison, sounded thrilled. Mr. Clark, rest assured, these paintings will fetch an astronomical price. I smirked. That's right, all of them. Not a single painting from the Daisy series can be missing. I want them all auctioned off. News of my paintings being auctioned quickly started trending online. Time was running out for Evan Shaw. Soon, Mr. Harrison called me, anxiously telling me one painting was missing. As for which one was missing, I smiled and opened a video on my phone. A cheerful male voice chirped. Boss took me to see the art exhibition. I scrolled through the comments, all of them shipping Evan and Victoria. One comment read, I remember this exhibition was organized by a tycoon. He has a super famous Daisy Beloved Wife series, but unfortunately it's not for sale. Boss took you inside, blogger. Don't you understand Boss Sister's feelings yet? Evan quickly replied to this comment. It was a picture, a photograph of a hanging daisy painting. Is this the kind of daisy painting you mean? I needed decorations when I moved last time, so Boss lent it to me. Chapter 2. With that statement, I saw Evan's follower count shoot up. Many people declared they were totally shipping them. Looking at the flood of supportive comments and that photograph, I had to admit, even though I had mentally prepared myself, facing it again still unsettled me. When I first saw that video, Evan's clumsy little tricks nearly drove me insane. My declaration of love, announced to the world, had been casually regifted by Victoria to Evan Shaw. How could I not hate it? Hate it so much I almost wanted to use my power to fire Evan immediately, to show him the dire consequences of seducing another man's wife. I took a deep breath and forwarded the screenshot to Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison understood immediately and assured me, Mr. Clark, don't worry, we'll get that painting back right away. Our team is professional. If he refuses, we'll take him to court immediately online. I hired promoters to push the news of my painting's theft to the top trending spot. Following that was the exposure of Evan's video. As for Sterling Corporation, people had already been buzzing when the gallery started collecting the paintings, let alone now with the revelation on Evan's account. Evan, seeing the attacks in the comments section, was distraught all day, his face pale. Holding back tears, under the gallery's supervision, he retrieved the painting. Then, stubbornly clutching it, he went to Victoria's office. Said CEO Sterling, I'm not a thief. I'm returning the painting to you and Mr. Clark right now. Chapter 3. After receiving the painting, I dropped the lawsuit against Evan Shaw. I sent Victoria a video of me burning that specific painting. This is the first time, and it better be the last. Otherwise, you know what I'm capable of. Victoria didn't reply. I knew she was angry. I was equally angry. That night, Victoria didn't come home. I knew this was her way of venting her dissatisfaction. I didn't care. Because I felt we both needed space to seriously consider if this precarious marriage was worth continuing. After Victoria achieved success, many men threw themselves at her, but she always handled them appropriately. But now, my gut told me this male assistant, Evan Shaw, wasn't so simple. Sure enough, not long after the painting incident, I saw Evan's account post another video. The content was, as usual, documenting Evan's daily life. Except when Evan reached the entrance of his residential complex, a familiar Bentley pulled up in front of him. I gripped my phone, disbelief washing over me. When Evan's voice came from the video, my hopeful heart shattered. Good morning, boss. With that, Evan took out a prepared breakfast from his bag and handed it over. Even though the video didn't show the boss's face, I recognized her instantly. It was Victoria, my wife. I immediately downloaded the video, replaying the frames where the car's interior was visible. No doubt about it. It was her. During these hours of our Cold War, I was tossing and turning because of her while she was carefree. Even the white dress Victoria was wearing was one I had picked out for her. "Feeling unwell?" the video continued. Victoria's cool voice held a barely perceptible trace of concern. Then she lowered the car window and asked Evan, "Better now?" The camera scanned the car's interior, showing the man comfortably seated in the passenger seat. "Actually, I don't usually get carsick. It's just today the scent inside feels a bit strong. The fragrance?" Just because of Evan's one sentence, I watched as the calming sachet I had personally arranged for Victoria was removed. "What's this? A sachet?" As the video showed Evan playing with the sachet, I took the lovingly prepared lunchbox from Mrs. Davies, our housekeeper, and drove to Victoria's company. I wasn't going to deliver warmth. I was going to settle the score. Chapter 4. The receptionist knew me and respectfully escorted me to the top floor. The top floor housed Victoria's private lounge. Everyone in the company knew it was our private domain. Even for work matters, they would knock and wait outside. It contained not only some business secrets but also the tokens of our love accumulated over the years. Every painting in the Daisy series carried my love for Victoria. Unfortunately, when Victoria gave my artwork to Evan Shaw as a decoration, the meaning of the Daisy series was lost. Just as I composed myself and prepared to open the door, I heard a man's voice from inside. "Boss, I couldn't find the file you mentioned." I pushed the door open and came face to face with a man smiling sweetly while on the phone. Evan Shaw was inside. He was currently organizing files at Victoria's desk. "Mr. Clark?" Evan's face turned deathly pale upon seeing me. The phone was on speaker, and I could still hear Victoria's concerned voice through the screen. Evan's voice held a fawning tone. "Mr. Clark, you're here? Miss Sterling is in a meeting and asked me to come get a file." I gestured for Evan to give me the phone. He reluctantly handed it over. "It's me." Those two simple words plunged the other end of the line into silence. After a moment, just as I was wondering if Victoria had even recognized my voice, she spoke. "Why do you have Evan's phone? Did you bully him again?" I raised an eyebrow, looking at Evan, who wore a wronged expression as if I had oppressed him terribly. My tone was flat. "Didn't the receptionist tell you I came to bring you lunch? I'll come up right now." Watching the disconnected phone, I placed it on the coffee table and sat down heavily on the sofa. As per Victoria's strict request, the Daisy series had to remain in the lounge until the auction began. So when Victoria rushed in, she saw me smiling and introducing the paintings in the lounge to Evan Shaw. This one depicts our first meeting at the Little Daisy kindergarten. Quite a dramatic encounter. This one was painted on our first date. It's also the only one in the Daisy series with portraits. This one was painted the day we got together. Half by me, half by her. Sincere. Victoria interrupted me. I watched Evan's eyes light up at Victoria's arrival, as if I were some monster and she was his savior. I looked at Victoria with a smile. Since when could anyone just walk into the top floor lounge? "I remember you fired your last secretary for entering without permission, didn't you?" Evan lowered his head at my words, but I didn't miss the aggrieved look he shot Victoria. I turned back to Victoria. She gently rubbed her temples, avoiding eye contact with Evan, and quickly walked over to sit beside me. I got held up in a meeting and asked him to grab a file. Besides, he just graduated from college. He's still learning the ropes. Why pick on him? Anyway, what you two are arguing about is just a painting. Sincere, why are you so angry? Chapter 5. Just a painting. I watched Victoria wink at Evan, as if saying, "I covered for you this time, don't let it happen again." They exchanged glances right in front of me. Naturally, I didn't miss the flutter of emotion in Evan's eyes when he looked at Victoria. I suddenly understood why Evan was so brazen. It was the tacit approval and indulgence from his superior. No wonder the subordinate could act so lawlessly. However, their little power play romance should never have involved me. "You still have the appetite to eat?" Without another word, I knocked the lunchbox in front of Victoria onto the floor. Before Victoria could speak, I snapped, "Do you two think I'm blind, carrying on your secret affair right under my nose?" Evan started to explain, but I slapped him across the face. I glared at him. "Do you have any right to speak here? Sincere Clark, are you crazy? Why did you hit him?" Victoria didn't move, but her eyes, looking at Evan, were full of apology. I sneered, looking at Evan. "Just an aspiring homewrecker trying to climb the ladder. Can't I even hit him?" Before Victoria could calm me down, the commotion on the top floor attracted Nathaniel Price, her special assistant. He knocked on the door, politely inquiring what had happened. I looked at Evan, mocking him. "See? That's how an assistant should behave. Know your place." Evan's face turned white, instinctively glancing at Victoria's expression. Victoria, finding cleaning supplies from somewhere, completely ignored Evan and knelt on the floor, cleaning up the lunch I had spilled. Victoria showed no intention of helping Evan out of his predicament. In the end, it was Nathaniel Price who intervened and escorted Evan away. Chapter 6. In all the time we'd been together, Victoria had never spoken a harsh word to me. Whether at home or outside, it was always me being sarcastic and angry, while Victoria would at most try to placate me. If she saw I was genuinely furious, she'd stop persuading and just go along with me. Today was the same. Victoria initially wanted to say a few words in Evan's defense, but seeing my real anger, she immediately chose not to help him. Once the spilled lunch was cleaned up, the top floor lounge was again just the two of us. Without a word, Victoria came over and snuggled into my arms. Usually calm and self-possessed, she now nuzzled her head against my chest repeatedly. "Don't be angry anymore, okay? I was wrong. I promise I won't be lazy again and let others into our secret sanctuary." I looked at Victoria's charming, pleading smile in my arms, then remembered the painting in Evan's video. Was it really just the top floor lounge? It was clear Evan was slowly infiltrating every aspect of Victoria's life, yet the person involved remained oblivious. Last time, Victoria's smile froze for a second, then she started acting cute again. "I won't listen. I won't listen, you petty, small-minded person. Sincere Clark is small-minded." I stroked Victoria's hair, but the sense of crisis didn't fade with her coquettishness. "Sincere, I promise. Evan Shaw is just my subordinate. There's absolutely no chance of us crossing any lines." I looked into Victoria's earnest eyes and gave a soft M&M, not pointing out that her act was solely to stop me from making things difficult for Evan. But it also made me more certain that the love in our marriage had thinned to the point of mutual distrust. I didn't believe Victoria was entirely innocent, and she didn't believe I wouldn't settle scores later. The promises Victoria once made to me, the paintings, the lounge, they were all rapidly crumbling. Chapter 7. Before the auction came my birthday. Usually this time was reserved for just Victoria and me, but this year I didn't want that. I notified my friends and organized a birthday party. As everyone was cheerfully congratulating me, my childhood best friend, Oliver Quinn, pulled me aside. "What's going on with you and Victoria lately?" Oliver always got straight to the point. I thought for a moment and replied calmly, "Nothing much." "Nothing much? You're still covering for Victoria at this point?" I froze as Oliver held his phone up to my face. He said, exasperated for my sake, "See for yourself." The screen showed a recent tabloid report. Shocking Sterling Corporation CEO's late-night rendezvous, suspected affair. I checked. This mystery man is Evan Shaw, supposedly Victoria's new assistant. That pretty boy even dared to follow her to your birthday party today. I think they're just taking advantage of your good nature. Just wait, I'll settle this score for you. I stopped the furious Oliver, intending to tell him my plans before he exploded. But then, a commotion erupted from the pool area in the front yard. Oliver and I rushed over to find Evan Shaw soaking wet, wrapped in a towel, while Victoria anxiously dabbed water from his forehead. Seeing me arrive, Victoria looked at me coldly. "Sincere Clark, I've told you many times, Evan and I are innocent. You may not believe my words, but you didn't have to have your people push him into the pool, did you?" My gaze fell on my younger cousin, Chloe Clark, who had just climbed out of the pool. She was shivering. I asked her with concern, "Are you all right?" Chloe looked at Victoria with red eyes. Sis-in-law, I really didn't push him. He jumped in himself. Victoria refused to listen, scoffing. Enough, I know you all have prejudices against Evan. Pushing him into the water is one thing, but now you're even slandering him. If that's the case, we'll just skip this birthday party. With that, Victoria started to leave with Evan, but Oliver called them back. What right do you two have to come and go as you please? I confirmed with Chloe again, looking at her trembling form. Don't be afraid. I'll stand up for you. I already fully believed my cousin. Chloe could be willful, but she wasn't someone without boundaries. Conversely, the usually composed Victoria was now acting so irrationally, readily siding with Evan against me, the person who had been by her side for over 20 years based on his provocation. A cold sneer formed inwardly. Ignoring Victoria, I said to Oliver, "My cousin doesn't make baseless accusations." Evan Shaw apologized to her. Chapter 8. Sincere Clark. Stop being unreasonable and bullying Evan. Victoria, completely unaware she was being used as a weapon by Evan, charged into battle for him. I looked at Victoria shielding Evan like a mother hen and asked with a smile, "You protect him like this and still say there's nothing between you? It's precisely because you keep targeting Evan that I have to protect him. Am I supposed to stand by and watch you bully someone? You think I'm bullying him?" At that moment, I finally saw Victoria Sterling for who she was. I once loved her reckless heroism, thinking she was the heroine of my youth. But now, that self-righteous sense of justice had become a sharp sword, ruthlessly cutting me to pieces. I laughed, staring at Evan. This place has surveillance cameras. Right and wrong will be clear at a glance. Evan Shaw, do you dare to watch? Evan tugged at Victoria's sleeve. CEO Sterling, let's go. I don't want to worsen the relationship between you two because of me. Victoria looked at me with disappointment. Sincere, Evan has already backed down this much. Don't keep pushing it. Let's leave each other some dignity. Dignity? I glanced around at the gossiping onlookers, not minding if this farce got even bigger. Victoria Sterling, let's get a divorce. Chapter 9. As soon as the words left my lips, a dead silence fell over the surroundings. Victoria's eyes widened in disbelief, staring intently at me. Just because I didn't make Evan Shaw apologize to you, you want to divorce me? Sincere Clark, are you crazy? Do you know what you're saying? I am perfectly lucid. I am telling you very responsibly that I want a divorce. I pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared earlier and placed them on a nearby table. Victoria Sterling, I told you I don't tolerate deceit in my life. Giving the Daisy series painting to Evan Shaw is nothing. Letting him into the private lounge is nothing. Keeping a man who clearly has feelings for you by your side is nothing. I took a deep breath. I'm not throwing a tantrum, I'm genuinely tired. In a couple of days, the gallery will come to collect the Daisy series. I don't want the paintings anymore, and I don't want you anymore. It's all my fault. Without another word, Evan Shaw ran off crying. Victoria instinctively started to chase after him. Finally, Victoria turned back to look at me. I know you're just saying things in anger today. I'll give you one last chance. If you want to reconcile, go apologize to Evan. After Victoria left, Oliver sat beside me, cursing her and Evan. I didn't speak, simply because I had received the best birthday gift ever. I once thought the best birthday gift was Victoria's unwavering love day after day. But now the best gift was the paper in my hand. An acceptance letter from the Milan Design Institute. Oliver stared at me, stunned. Why are you going abroad now? To let that wretched pair have their way? I shook my head, my gaze firm. It's not that I'm giving Victoria away. It's that I don't want her anymore. Having made my decision, I called my legal team. Yes, I want a divorce. I need you to handle the property division. I want every cent that's rightfully mine. I want to make Victoria Sterling pay dearly. After the law firm assured me they would sort out the divorce details within 3 days, my actions were noticed by my father, Arthur Clark. His call came through. Are you really divorcing Victoria? It's just a junior assistant. If he bothers you, I interrupted my father. Dad, even without Evan Shaw, there would have been someone else. It's not just about Evan interfering. The main thing is, Victoria and I don't work anymore. We don't work anymore. The vows of eternal love and sweet nothings of the past had ultimately been exhausted by the day-to-day superficialities of our life. After a long pause, my father sighed. If you want a divorce, then get one. Your mother and I have missed you a lot while we've been abroad. Looking at the acceptance letter, I smiled. I'll be able to join you and Mom soon. While I was preparing my entrance portfolio for the Milan Design Institute, Evan Shaw's videos continued to be updated. I watched Victoria keep him by her side constantly, involving him in important meetings, guiding him step by step to become more reliable and steady. I saw them stealing moments of leisure, Victoria even taking Evan sightseeing during business trips. Finally, Evan personally painted a portrait of Victoria. Victoria held the painting, her face beaming with happiness. This photo also became the background of Evan's social media profile. At this point, I stopped watching Evan's videos, as I already had more than enough evidence of Victoria's infidelity. After blocking Evan, I told myself his cheap tricks were childish tactics I'd seen before. He was living on borrowed time. I'd let him jump around a little longer. Chapter 10. As the Daisy series fetched astronomical prices at auction, the reasons behind the sale were unearthed. Victoria finally couldn't resist calling me. Who actually sold the paintings? Did you forget they were our pledge of love? To you have any idea how much this has affected the company's stock price? Hearing Victoria's words made me want to laugh. She was the one who cheated first, got caught red-handed, yet instead of confronting Evan, who was milking the online attention, or the paparazzi who reported it, she targeted me. What leverage did she think she had? Surely she couldn't still believe I loved her? Oh, forgot, you or me. You know better than I do. So I thought I made myself perfectly clear that day. If you don't sign the divorce papers, then we'll see each other in court. With that, I immediately hung up. Just then Oliver rushed over excitedly to share news with me. You wouldn't believe the mess Evan Shaw has made of Sterling Corporation. Only then did I learn that Victoria, in her effort to train Evan, had actually put him in charge of one of her most important projects. The result, naturally, was a disaster. Even though it was Evan who had thrown the company into turmoil, Victoria only called to question me. Ridiculous. I thought for a moment, then looked at Oliver. I remember your family's business is in a similar sector to Sterling's, right? Oliver looked surprised at the gratuitous share transfer agreement in my hand. Although Sterling's stock is down now, if they survive this, these dividends could be substantial. Are you serious? Don't mention it. While Sterling still has a pulse, let's give it a few more pushes. After all, Victoria had already called me to account. If I didn't do something, it wouldn't be fair to her accusations, would it? Business competition is always a zero-sum game, with Sterling Corp. On the brink, naturally, many aspiring companies would want a piece of the pie. Less than half a month later, Sterling Corp. was just one step away from declaring bankruptcy. As I was submitting my entrance portfolio, building management called, saying Victoria and Evan Shaw were causing a scene at the complex entrance, demanding to be let in. Ms. Sterling says she won't leave until she sees you. What should we do? I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, silently watching the farce downstairs, sighed, and said, "Let them come up." Chapter 11. Seeing Victoria again, she had lost a lot of weight and looked disheveled, a far cry from her former commanding presence. Whatever it is, let's clear it all up today. Victoria stared intently at me. Sincere, I've investigated everything. On your birthday, Evan jumped into the pool himself. It's all my fault. I wrongly trusted him back then. I've brought him here now to apologize to you. Belated affection is cheaper than dirt, especially since I no longer needed Victoria's affection. Are you finished? Seeing the hopeful look on Victoria's face, my voice remained calm. You can't possibly still think that just by clearing up the misunderstanding, we can go back to how things were, can you? It seems you still don't understand. Misunderstanding or not, we are already over. No, Victoria suddenly lunged forward and hugged me, her face streaked with tears. I won't allow it. I won't allow you to say it's over. I only made a small mistake, and I've already apologized. I really didn't cheat. Why won't you believe me? Why do you still want a divorce? My gaze fell on the silent Evan Shaw. Your boss sister is crying. Aren't you going to comfort her? At my words, Evan suddenly became agitated, realization dawning on him. It was you. I kept wondering why my videos never got much traffic, and then suddenly blew up overnight. It was you, wasn't it? You saw the videos early on, and selling the paintings was just to get back at me. I laughed. Even if everything Evan said was true, so what? The fact was, I had won. Seeing me laugh, Evan instantly connected all the dots. He grabbed Victoria. Victoria, stop crying, Sterling. Becoming like this must be sincere. Clark's doing. Maybe my project failing was also him. Victoria suddenly slapped Evan across the face. Evan froze, stunned, holding his face, looking at Victoria in disbelief. You are just my assistant. Who gave you permission to call me so intimately? Chapter 12. I watched the stunned Evan Shaw without speaking, quietly observing the spectacle. As they say, when dogs bite dogs, you just get fur. Evan had ill intentions, but was Victoria Sterling some paragon of virtue who adhered strictly to boundaries? Evan glared venomously at me but was kicked out by Victoria. She looked at me fearfully, seemingly trying to curry favor. The videos, yes, the videos. Victoria fumbled for her phone, explaining frantically, sincere. When I gave him a ride, it was because he kept pestering me, saying he felt unwell. And that trip, it was purely because I wanted the people around me to have some worldliness, so they wouldn't embarrass me when we were out. That's the only reason I took him. Victoria was still talking, but I cut her off. What about the painting? I pointed to the portrait in the video. You once told me you wanted to be my muse for life, that no one besides me could paint you. And now? Why was Evan Shaw allowed? I gently pushed away Victoria's hand, clinging to my sleeve, sighing. Admit it, Victoria. Emotional infidelity is still infidelity. When you were with Evan Shaw, you had long forgotten the promises you made to me. No, Victoria tried to grab me tightly again, tilting her head up, her eyes filled with remorseful tears. Sincere, I know I wronged you. But can you, for the sake of our past, lend me some money? Victoria's voice grew quieter, her head bowed. I know this is an outrageous request, but if you lend me the money to help Sterling Corp. Through this crisis, I will definitely pay you back. How much? 400 million. Assuming USD based on context, I laughed. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Exactly the amount the Daisy series sold for, isn't it? Victoria's face flushed crimson, but she stammered on. Without me, you couldn't have painted those pictures. I just need the money for an emergency. Besides, aren't you also a shareholder of Sterling? If Sterling does well, you get dividends too. My smile slowly faded. Sorry, I'm not in the habit of lending money to my ex-wife. And who said I'm a Sterling shareholder anymore? Victoria froze, stunned. I bent down, wiped away her tears, my voice calm. Things have been chaotic at Sterling these past few days, right? Has the Quinn family been causing a lot of trouble for Sterling? Yes, exactly. I transferred my shares to Oliver Quinn. Victoria's lips moved slightly, her eyes filled with misery as she looked at me. Why? Are you only happy when you see Sterling bankrupt and me with nothing? Yes, I am. I couldn't wait for Sterling to go under. So, do you really expect me to save a company that I brought down? Chapter 13. After our conversation, Victoria left, utterly dejected. Shortly after, she signed the divorce papers. The Quinn family's attacks on Sterling Corp. were intensifying. I had no time to worry about Victoria's fate. After getting my visa sorted, I was flying to Milan to continue my studies. On the way to the airport, a van suddenly darted out from a corner. Luckily, my driver was experienced and swerved sharply, avoiding an accident. My bodyguards quickly got out and apprehended the driver. It was Evan Shaw. Oliver had told me that after Victoria fired him, no one would hire him, and he was living quite miserably. Seeing me, Evan struggled violently, trying to lunge at me. "It's all your fault, you ruined me." I looked at Evan's slightly crazed appearance, kept a safe distance, and immediately called the police. "I think you've misunderstood something. Victoria fired you because your seduction failed and was exposed, and because you lacked the ability to make her indispensable. That's why she could dismiss you so easily." Nonsense. I was almost successful. Everything was getting better. It was you who had to interfere and ruin everything. You're rich. Anyway, why did you have to fight me for this opportunity? On what grounds? I looked down at Evan condescendingly. Where were you when Victoria fought her half-sisters for the inheritance? Where were you when Victoria used my money to start her business? When you were using sweet talk trying to climb the ladder, did you ever ask yourself on what grounds? In my eyes, a lowlife like you, scheming to reach the top in one leap, deserves to get absolutely nothing. My words hit Evan's raw nerve. He looked like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, his face ghastly pale. He struggled against the bodyguard's hold, shouting incessantly, "Shut up, we were truly in love. It wasn't sordid like you say. What does truly in love mean? If Victoria were just an ordinary person, would Evan Shaw still willingly be the other man? Really? If you were truly in love, why did she abandon you so easily?" Hitting his sore spot, Evan's face began to contort. "Sincere Clark, I hope you die a horrible death. I'm going to kill you." The bodyguards quickly muffled Evan's mouth and dragged him away. After giving my statement, my legal team quickly arrived and filed charges against Evan Shaw for attempted murder. Boarding the plane to Milan, I felt a sudden twinge of disappointment. Who would have thought Evan Shaw would self-destruct like this? A pity about the trap I had carefully laid for him. Chapter 14. As soon as the plane landed, I saw my parents, Eleanor and Arthur Clark, waiting for me at the airport. My mother dabbed her eyes, saying I looked thinner, and lamenting how I had been wronged. I quickly comforted her. "Don't be upset. At least I cut my losses in time." Life studying in Milan passed quickly. The semester flew by in the blink of an eye. It wasn't until the winter break that I heard news about Victoria and Evan Shaw. Evan Shaw was ultimately sentenced to 3 years in prison. Apparently, men with his delicate features are at the bottom of the prison hierarchy, and Oliver Quinn had even arranged for some special attention for him. It was safe to assume Evan's days were not easy. As for Victoria, standing upstairs, I watched the stubborn figure under the streetlight. Oliver, hearing I was back in the country, immediately threw a grand welcome-back party for me. "Tisk, why is this woman so persistent? Didn't you already divorce her?" My gaze shifted away from Victoria, my tone flat. "Ignore her. Let's continue." The party went on late into the night, and eventually a light dusting of snow began to fall. Victoria waited like that until we finished. When I saw her, her eyelashes were coated with snowflakes. Sincere Clark Victoria's eyes lit up when she saw me. Seeing her like this reminded me of when we first got together. To help her successfully inherit Sterling Corporation, to get her small company recognized, I spent countless nights navigating dinner parties and networking events. Even though she could have relied on established connections, Victoria still pushed herself, drinking until she developed bleeding stomach ulcers. I had endured those social functions for her sake. I lowered my gaze, telling myself it was all in the past. No need to invest in someone unworthy. I initially wanted to walk away quickly, but Victoria caught up to me. She breathed out puffs of cold air, her eyes welling up with tears as she looked at me. "Sincere, you're finally back. I've missed you so much these past 6 months." Chapter 15. It was too deliberate. During my 6 months in Milan, Oliver occasionally updated me on Victoria. After Sterling Corporation went bankrupt, the Sterling family used their years of savings to start a new venture, which was apparently doing reasonably well now. However, Reginald Sterling, Victoria's father, was thoroughly disappointed in her. Apart from giving her regular dividends, he no longer valued her as before. The fight for the Sterling family inheritance was still fierce, but this time Victoria had been completely kicked out of the running. So, it didn't take much thought to figure out why Victoria was so fixated on me. Holding on to me was like a drowning person clutching the last straw. Except, not all broken mirrors can be mended. I would never love her like before. Some mistakes are worth remembering for a lifetime. Shouldn't you be visiting Evan Shaw in prison? Why are you waiting here for me? No, sincere, let me explain. There was really nothing between Evan and me. I stopped walking, my eyes showing impatience. Do you really want to force me to say whose child you were carrying? Victoria Sterling, maintain some dignity. Don't make me lose all respect for you. The child. Wait, weren't you in Milan? How do you know? I hadn't wanted to know about Victoria's abortion at the hospital either. Unfortunately, I had an old acquaintance at the hospital who didn't know Victoria and I had divorced. When my friend urgently told me Victoria was pregnant, I was stunned too, then immediately realized the child wasn't mine. Calculating the dates, that was around the time Victoria and Evan Shaw were intensely entangled. Stop wasting your efforts on me. You'd be better off spending this time achieving something so you don't disappoint your father again. With that, I turned and walked away, leaving Victoria alone in the snow. The muddy mess of the past wasn't worth lingering on. Neither was the person I had mistakenly loved. The future held my new life,